Hey everybody, it's Brad with another Floriani Total Control U video for you today. And today we're going to be revisiting this guy, the So Fearlessly logo thing that I started and abandoned, I don't know, 3 years ago now? I mean, it's been a long time. It was before the pandemic, I know that. I did 2 episodes of this that I put on YouTube. I did another one live in class, and I just kind of got distracted and never got around to doing it. So we're gonna, by popular demand here, we're gonna be revisiting this, but we're gonna start over from the beginning, and I'm gonna be doing it differently than I was doing it before. We're gonna be treating a lot of this as applique because that is gonna take way less time to sew out. So let's go ahead and get started. So. First thing we're going to do is go to create a new design in my Floriani today here to bring up a blank workspace, and then I'm going to bring up a backdrop. So we're going to use backdrop tool here. I'm going to have the file in a link in the description of this video, so you will be able to download it, or if you were in class, I will have provided it to you on your USB drive. So let's see, I've got it in my pictures folder. So Fearless, there we go. That is it. That's the image that we're going to use. Now, if we don't want this to be quite as big, we can resize it at this point. If we look over in our properties menu here, we can see that this is 7.23-ish inches wide by 9.45 inches tall. So this is pretty big. It will fit in, if we were to digitize it at this size, it would fit in the large hoop for a Destiny or an Altair. It would comfortably fit in a Solaris. But if your machine doesn't fit that size, then this is the time to resize it. But I'm going to leave this at the size that the image comes in at because I want this to be big. I want this to be like a design that you could put on the back of a jacket. So what I'll do is just click on my select tool up here, which removes the selection indicator around the backdrop and makes it so that I can no longer click on my backdrop. If I wanted to click on my backdrop and be able to manipulate the properties of it again, I would need to click on my backdrop tool, which will then select the backdrop, and I can go and do the properties of it and that kind of thing. So anyway, let's take a look at this and think about, well, what we're going to do. So I think that, like I said, I want to do a lot of this as applique. So I'm going to do, certainly the banner, the ribbon here that's going around the needles is going to be applique. I'll do the needles themselves as a fill stitch and probably do the birds as a fill stitch. This big area here, that's going to be applique, and the letters, I'm just going to use some of the built-in letters in the program. And that'll be the last thing that we do is the lettering. To recap, we've got applique, 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 stitches, 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 stitches. Okay, so now, what about the order that we're going to sew this stuff out in? Well, looking at this, it looks to me like the purple, the dark purple, so like this part of the ribbon here and this part of the ribbon here, that dark purple is pretty much all behind everything else except for this part of it. So this, and this, that's all behind other stuff. Like this is curving behind the logo, this is curving behind the front of the ribbon and behind the needles, except for this one, which is in front of the needles. So I think that what we'll do first is definitely going to be the dark purple, and then the gray of the needles, I think, would be next. The needles need to go out next, and then the light purple, and this logo here, and then the birds, I guess, and then the text. That's my rough working plan here. And it's not a bad idea to come up with a plan like that and write it down. I'm not going to write it down. I'm just going to try to remember it. But it's not a bad idea to do that, come up with a plan of, to know what you're going to do first and second and stuff. So because we're going to do this as an applique, let's take a look at this with a critical eye. I'm going to do this as an applique. I'm going to do the purple part as one piece, and then for the top stitch here, like what's going to be this, I'll probably do that as a satin stitch. But it's going to have a slightly different shape from the applique because this kind of goes across everything. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to use the applique tool, but I'm not going to do the top stitch as part of the applique tool. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, that's fine. Just watch. You'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to do this piece here as the first thing. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I just scrolled with my mouse wheel to do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw in this purple shape, but we're not tracing it from where the outline is. We're tracing it from where the purple is, because that's what we're drawing now, is the purple. I'm going to do both of these as one piece, and then we're going to allow this to come over and separate that into two spaces when we get to that part. So let's see. We're going to use our drawing tools up here. I'm going to hit the artwork tool, and by default that leaves the line selected, and that's the one that I want. So I'm going to draw this like this. I'm going to draw the first corner. I'm going to let it kind of overlap a little bit into the gray. And then, let's see, this is going to come around here, and I'm going to, let's see, I'll put a point there, and I'll put a point, I'll just let that curve. I'm going to put another point here inside where this outline's going to be, and then say here, and then I'll put one here, and then here. Then I'm going to close my shape, which we can do by hitting Shift and C together, or if you prefer to click, you can click on this little icon here, but Shift C is faster. So we're going to do that. So that's generated a piece of artwork, which we're then going to select by using the select tool. It's this guy here. And then we want to adjust the shape of it. So that is my favorite shortcut to that is here. But we could also click here. We could also click here. There's like a million ways to do everything in this program. But I'm going to hit that, and we're just going to pull our curves out so that they kind of match the shape. It doesn't have to be exact. Nobody's going to be, coming up and holding a ruler to your design or anything like that. Let's see. Bring this up maybe a little bit and bring this out a little bit so that is going to be one complete shape. Okay, so we've got our shape in here, and then what we want is we want to use the applique tool, which is down here. This is your applique tool. It's the green spiky shape. We're going to click on that, and by default what this is going to do is it's going to create this. I just hit 3D so we can see it. It's going to create this shape and put the top stitch on it. If we look on our properties of this object, we can see that we have a check mark next to sew placement, sew tack down, and sew finish. If we uncheck sew finish, then it's only going to have the first two steps of that, which is going to be the placement stitch and then the tack down stitch. And so we want to only have those two because we're going to draw our top stitches in ourselves separately. All right, so that's that part. So that's going to be the first little applique shape. And I think that what we could do is now go in and do the next purple pieces. So I think we could do this and this and this all kind of together. Yeah, I think that will look okay and save us time when we actually sew this thing out. So we're going to go down to the next area, which is this shape here, I think, is going to be the best way to do this. Now, we don't need to make a traveling stitch here because there's going to be cutting that we're going to have to do anyway, so we really don't need to travel because it's two pieces of applique. So we're just going to go ahead and draw this next shape in. Again, we're going to draw it the same way. You're going to click on the artwork tool, and let's see, we're going to click here, making sure that to leave some overlap. Let's see, this is going to curve around to here, and then this is kind of like an S-shaped curve a little bit, so I'm going to put a point there, and then close my shape. Shift-C. Okay, and then I know this looks a little crazy, but just bear with me. If I use my shape tool now, I can pull this part out, and pull this part, and pull this part, and that way I get kind of, nice mathematically perfect curves instead of having to click a bunch of clicks. That's the way that I like to draw shapes like that. And again, we're going to use the applique tool here and uncheck sew finish and hit apply. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And notice when you do this, when you use the applique tool, it automatically changes the colors around so that your colors are different. That is helpful because the machine will stop between each color, and we can leave the same thread in when we're sewing these pieces out. It just kind of makes it so that it automatically stops between those colors. All right, so let's take a look at this. Now, we could do this as two pieces, or we could do this as a single piece of fabric. I think it's kind of arbitrary which we do. Now, if we look at the way that it's drawn, like it's not really drawn so that it matches like this to this. I think it kind of looks a little disjointed there. So maybe, I don't know, I'll draw it and see what I think when I do it. Let's go ahead and use the artwork tool. I'm gonna do this as one piece and just see how it shakes out. So from there to there is kind of one curve, and then I'm just gonna have this follow along this way. And remember, we're following the purple part, so we're not tracing this black part here. So I'm gonna have this come down all the way to here, and then to here. I'm gonna have two clicks there and there. And then this is all kind of one good smooth curve. I'll put a point there because this is kind of an S-shaped curve a little bit. Put it to there, and then close my shape. And we'll see how this looks when I pull my curves out. So I'm going to use my shape tool to pull these curves out like that, and like that. Yeah, this was kind of unnecessary at this point. It's all right. Kind of like that. Maybe I'll move this down a little bit. But remember, like, we don't have to follow exactly how the artwork looks. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me, and let's turn that into a applique and get rid of the sew finish and hit apply. And there we go. We've got our placement stitches and our tack down stitches for those areas. Now, if we wanted to, we could just move on to the next thing, which is going to be to lay down some of the top stitches. The top stitches for these appliques, which I want to have down before we do the next bits here. If we want to be slick and kind of save time, we could split these applique designs that we did. So if we look in the sequence view, we can see that we have two separate pieces making up each applique segment, and it's possible to select an applique area, right click it and choose break up applique. So now what I've got here is just the run stitch that was the placement stitch, and then the run stitch that was the tack down stitch. And what I could do to make a more efficient design is, now I'm telling you this, I'm not telling you necessarily to do this, okay? If you're not comfortable doing this, then just wait till I'm done yammering about this. But we'll say, all right, so if I want to make this more efficient, I could take this and make it, choose whatever color to make all of the applique position. So I'll just make it, yellow. Well, we'll make it something that's easier to see. Doesn't matter what color I pick, just as long as I pick them all the same color. And then we'll have the placement stitch be this blue color. All right, so then we're going to take the next one and break up the applique. And that's going to give me, this needs to be my placement stitch color, and this needs to be my tack down stitch color. And then we go and break up the next one. Oh, my screen is making it hard for me to see this, just the way that I have this, my capture software. Hang on. Break up applique. All right, I know you couldn't see me clicking there, but I just hit break up applique on that drop down menu. And then we'll take this element and make it the placement stitch color, and this element and make it the tack down stitch color. And then what we can do here is do a color sort on all of this. So if I go up here and I choose color sort, oh, I gotta select everything and then do a color sort. Now, this is all of the placement stitches, and then this is all of the tack down stitches, and that kind of saves us from having to do them as separate stages. So, you know, if you don't do what I just did there to break up the applique, that just means that you're going to be doing each one of these as a separate piece, and it's totally a valid way to do it. This is just kind of a little bit slicker, so if you're feeling fancy, you can do it this way. And it just occurred to me that another thing that we could do is, if you're using the embroidery thread chart, so if you click on the thread charts over here, if you're using this one, embroidery, there's a color in here for appliques. So if we look, here we go, applique position is one of the color names in here. So if I hit that on this guy, make this applique position, and then this one applique material, which is this color, that can be pretty helpful to, you know, have it in your brain as to what each section of this is. So if anytime we have an applique position, we make it that color. If anytime we have an applique material, we make it that color. That can really be helpful. All right, so let's see. The next step that we're gonna do is we're gonna do our top stitches. So let's see. We'll do. I guess we'll do this one up here first. It doesn't really matter that much, but we'll do this one up here first. How do I want to approach this? Well, let's take a look. We've got this line, and this line. Okay, so those are the three pieces that we're working with. And if we're looking at this, I would say that this line is under this line, and this line is under this line. So we want it to go this one, then this one, then this one is the order of operations here. Now we could do this as either a steel stitch or with the satin stitch tool. And looking at this, it looks to me like the kind of the width of each of these stitches is the same, or each of these borders is the same. So I think a steel stitch, which is like a border satin stitch type stitch, is the appropriate thing to use here. So let's give it a try. We're going to use the artwork tool, and we're gonna follow along from here to about here, and then I'm just going to right click to generate that, and let's bend this into a shape and use the steel. That's this third tool here is the one that says steel. And then I also want to change the color of this, so I'm going to set this to be black. Okay. And remember, I'm not following the artwork. Okay, so if I hide my backdrop here, like, I'm not following the artwork necessarily. I'm more concerned with following the stitches. Oh, I didn't mean to hide that. And this button, by the way, hides your backdrop for you just at a click. So anyway, so that looks fine, and then we'll go and do the next one. From there up to about here, and then right click to generate it, click select, shape, pull my curve out. We want to make sure that that's going to overlap, and then use the steel stitch. Okay, and then finally we want this one. Although really we probably, if we wanted to be like super slick, then what we would have done was actually have a travel stitch in there. So I'm going to delete this one. Let's go ahead and do it the right way. So we'll make sure that our start and our stop point on this are, let's see, we'll have it start here and stop here. All right, and then we'll travel from here to here using a run stitch. So let's do our digitizing tools and choose run stitch, and just go from the end of this to the beginning of where our other one's going to be. And we'll go ahead and curve that so that it follows the stitches. All right, and then actually I think we could probably use the, isn't there a, yeah, there's a steel stitch, like a direct digitizing steel stitch we could be using instead of converting it from artwork. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll use steel stitch here, I mean, you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter. From there and bring it up to about here. Right click, and you see what that does is it instantly generates it as the type of stitch that we pick, instead of doing it as artwork and then converting it. Like depends on what you're doing, whether you want to do one or the other. For something like this, it's actually a little easier. All right, so, and then we want this last one. We're going to travel from there to there, so we're going to use the run stitch and bring it to here. But I actually want this to go inside of the gray, so we're going to leave that and then use the steel stitch to come back. So there to there to there, right click, and then use our shape tool to put our I don't like this. I don't like the way that this looks with this sharp corner here. So I'm going to delete that point and see whether we can curve this using these handles here in a way that pleases me. Yeah, this needs to come further down and this a little bit further in. Let's look at it without the backdrop. Oop. Where is it? This one. Yeah, that looks good, but we do need to adjust where this one ends up because it's going to overlap a little bit. And look at it without the backdrop. Yeah. Our travel stitch is kind of out of position now. That looks pretty good. All right, so I think that works as a top stitch. Now we're not going to do this part because that's going to be made by the outline that ends up around this part of the banner, and there's nothing on this side because that's going to be overlapped by the needle. So let's see, where did we end up? Here we go. So this has a stop point that is right there. So if we want to be very fancy, we could do a travel stitch to go down to where the next part of the top stitch is going to be, which is down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do Digitizing Tools Run, and we're going to just travel inside the design. It doesn't really matter where we're clicking because this is going to get covered over, but we're going to travel so our needle starts about here. Now I'm looking at this and thinking, I'm thinking about this part right here. Maybe I don't want to do this because look at this part of this banner. This can be one continuous satin stitch that goes up here, and then this will butt up to it. So we could leave this part raw, okay, until this part of this comes up and does that. I think that would look good. And I can't think of any reason not to do that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our travel stitch and I'm going to move the last point of it to here. And then we're going to do this segment here because this needs to go down now. So that's going to be a steel stitch. Yep. From here to here and generate that. Pull out the curve. Okay. And that should take care of that. And then this other side is going to be and I'm not worried about this. I don't like the amount of shading that's going on right here. So at any rate, we're gonna we'll do this part later and just move on down to the next section, which is down here. So here, let's take a look and see. So this. So what we're looking for basically is anywhere that the that the border branches, and we want to make sure that we have that each branching segment as its own separate piece. So like for instance, here and here end up in the same area, and we don't want to try to have one stitch go two directions. So this and this, or this and this, have to be separate objects. So let's start over on this side. You know, here we've got this here. We've kind of got the same thing going on where this can be part of this top stitch starting over here, but we can't put that down yet because, you know, this is under it. So we may leave this raw for now and do this stitch and then everything else down here. So basically what we need to do is we need to travel from here to here, because this is where we're going to start. So we're going to use the run stitch and travel to here. And now we just want to put the steel stitch in from here to here. So let's see, here's steel stitch, and we're going to take that from there to there. Going to use the shape tool to pull this curve in, and we just want to make sure that it follows the contour of the shape that we drew before. And you know, it kind of doesn't, because I started this a little too high up. So let's move this to here and then adjust the curve a little bit. Yeah, that's good enough. I think that'll cover that. Okay. Now we're skipping over this because we don't need to, you know, embroider over that top stitch there. And so we're going to go from here. Let's do a run stitch. Why not? From there to where the next one's going to start. Now, this one, this is where things are going to get a little tricky. Because we're going to need some variable stitch width here. So we may do some of this next stuff as a satin stitch, which means we got to draw the whole shape of where the stitch is going to be in there. So I'm going to do this next part with artwork. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to treat this as if it's like its own shape. So here to, let's see, this merges with the other line right along here. So I'm going to go down to here and then close my shape. I know that looks crazy, but watch this. What we're going to do is this to here, this to here, and you see how that creates, oh, you know what, I shouldn't have closed my shape just yet because I needed another point up here. So what I'm going to do is add a point by right clicking and then dragging, I've created a weird little wave, make that a cusp, and then, yeah, I screwed it up. I screwed it up. I'm just gonna redraw this segment. Sometimes if you screw up, it's better to just start over than to try and fix your screw up. So let's try again. So we use this. This time I'm gonna draw kind of from here to here to get that end in there, and I'm gonna come down to about here and then to about here, and then we're gonna close the shape. Okay, and then let's see, this is this side and this is this side. It's probably a little thicker than it needed to be. But you know what? We also need to make sure that we're covering over this, which we are not. So let me move this up a little and then move this down to make sure that that's going to cover over the raw edge of our applique. it's hard to remember that you're following this, not necessarily the artwork. You know, it's hard to remember that. But anyway, once you get your shape in there, what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this into a satin fill stitch by using this icon here, the auto satin tool. We're just gonna hit that, and that's gonna automatically create a satin top stitch for us there. And then, so for this next area, we're going to have this start down here and kind of go up and run into this section right here. So this is going to kind of go right across there and come around like that. So we're going to go ahead and use our artwork tool, and we're going to start here, come up to about here, and then curve that around this way to here, and then probably there's like a little bit of an S curve there, so I'm gonna come to there and then close the shape. So let's take a look at what that looks like when I use my my shape tool here. This goes up here, this goes up here, this goes here, and then this had a little bit of an S to it, so that's why I did it that way. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I need to consider that this needs to go all the way to there to cover up that stitch. Therefore, this needs to go all the way to here. And then this can kind of come up a little bit because this is going to be covered by the next stitch. Okay, so we generate that and use the auto satin tool. And the reason we're using the auto satin tool instead of the steel stitch tool, they're the same type of stitch essentially, but one is filling a shape and the other is following a line. And when you're following the line, you don't get variable stitch width the way that we get with this. So if I select this path here, you can see how this gets fatter and skinnier, which you can't do with any real degree of control on a steel stitch. That's why we're using this kind of stitch. All right, so let's go to the next piece is going to be this piece. And so I think actually instead I'm going to do this piece first because I want this to be one continuous thing and I want it to overlap this one. So I am going to, here we can be slick and travel from here to here and then draw in our this one could be a steel stitch, really. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like if I just treat this as a steel stitch. There to there. And then this, I just have to make sure that I start this far enough in that it's going to be overlapped by the needle there. Alright, so that's fine. And then we're going to do the next one. Start there, come around to here, using my arrow keys to pan. And then from there, it's going to come around there, 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 and say, I don't know whether this point's going to be necessary or not. It might not be. And then I'm going to close the shape and generate this line. And let's see what we end up with when I start pulling my curves out. So that's going to go there. This is going to go here. This is going to come up like that. See, this might be unnecessary. Let's delete that point. Let's see how that looks. That looks okay. And make that a satin stitch and take a look at it here. Turn off my image there. That looks okay to me. And it looks like a banner flapping in the breeze down there. All right, so this piece we're going to do later, and groovy. We got our first bit of applique done. That's the dark purple area. Okay, so what's going to be the next step? Well, we can't do the light purple banner because that is in front of our needles. So how do we want to treat these needles? I'm thinking a fill stitch, not a satin stitch. I think a fill stitch is appropriate because these are pretty big. So I mean, basically, we just need to draw them in. Now, the eye of the needle. What are we going to do with that? We could draw that as like a satin stitch and put that on top of it, or we could just treat that as a hole, so that there's like an actual gap in the stitches. I think either way would work fine. I don't know. You could do it. You could do it however you want. I think I'll do these. Let's see. I'll do them as holes. Why not? I'll show you how to do that. All right. So first thing we got to do is pick which one we're going to start. I'm just going to start arbitrarily with the left one. I don't think it matters. We're going to draw. Let's see. We're going to start somewhere like here, and we're going to draw up to about here, and then I'm going to go straight across because we're going to pull that out as a curve, and then come down, and then close my shape. All right, let's make this a gray color also, so that we remember to do that. And then I'm gonna select the shape tool and bring this up. Now I can't quite get it as wide as the artwork is, so if I wanted to widen this up, what you can do is click on the curve itself, and you see these little handles pop out. You can move these handles one at a time to widen that up like that. And now we've got the first shape that's going to make up this object, but the second shape is going to be the hole in here, so we need to draw that separately. So before we generate it as stitches, we want to go in and do this. We can take that and maybe that and there, and then close my shape. Okay, shape tool, bring this up, and let's take a look in here. Kind of bow this out a little bit. That's ugly. You can monkey with it till it's perfect. I'm not going to. Okay, so we've got the two shapes that make up what is going to be this fill object here. So I'm going to select both of them using the control key, or I could have just clicked on here the group. But basically we need both of these objects selected, however you do it, and then right click and choose combine. Now we can see in the preview that this piece of artwork has a hole in it, and if we hit the fill button, boom, there we go. So this is a situation where drawing with artwork first is crucial, because if we had used the fill tool in here, it's much more. It's a lot harder to get your hole in there. This is like, you know, it's definitely better to convert a outline to stitches than to directly draw the stitches in this situation. So anyway, just pointing that out. All right, so let's see. Let's look at our shape. Our stop point is all the way up here. Let's move it down there. Start point doesn't really matter that much because it's the first thing that's this color. But we're going to travel now from here down to the next part. Okay, and then we're just going to draw this in the same way that we did this one, where we just go in and do here, 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 close the shape. Now this is pretty much a rectangle, so we don't really have to do anything after this. And we're just going to go straight down to the next part. So from here, we may as well just go over and do the other tops of the needles right now. Like, there's really no reason to, you know, go and continue this one needle. So I'm going to look at where the stop point is. It's there. We'll move it right to the corner. I'm going to travel from here to here and just draw in this next section. So that's going to be that, and close the shape. And we're going to fill that. Okay, where's your stop point is, we'll put you about there, and then we'll travel. Oh, I just accidentally clicked somewhere. You can just right click to, if you do that. Like I just accidentally clicked and it's trying to draw something. If you right click to generate that, you can just hit delete and it's gone. Alright, so, yeah, this is the next thing that we're drawing. So, wait a minute. Yeah, this is on top of that. Yeah, right. Okay, I'm psyching myself out here. Okay, so drawing tools here. We're going to go bump, 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 and close the shape. Pull our curve out of the top. And again, remember you can widen that up using these Bezier handles here to get it so that it matches perfect. And then same thing, we're going to draw this shape. Close that and pull out our curves like that. This is kind of ugly here. That's alright. Select both of these using Control and then right click and choose Combine. Or you can also combine up here the what do they call that? Context sensitive menu also has a shortcut to it. And then we're going to take this and make it a fill stitch. Okay. Oh. I guess I could have gone from there to there to there. It doesn't really matter. We can travel back through this. So let's set the stop point to be down here somewhere. And then we'll travel from there down here. A little tiny bit of gray poking out right there. So we'll go ahead and draw that. Fill it. And then from there, we do the last one. Alright, so let's see, we'll travel here up to about here. Say there, using the arrow keys to pan, arrow keys on my keyboard, and then down to somewhere inside the bird, and then we're just going to kind of do like a rough thing around the bird here, and then close our shape, select it, pull this out, use Bezier handles to make it a little wider. Okay, and then we need to make our hole. So we'll say there, 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 and then just kind of put it behind the bird a little bit. Close that shape. Pull the curve. Combine the two. Hold Control down and select the two. And then this button here I can combine and make it a fill. Okay. And now we can travel back down to the next part of the design. Let's see, where's our stop point? Put it down here somewhere. And then we'll use the travel stitch here to go through the design down to like here-ish. You can pick whichever one you want to start with. I'm going to start with this one. Alright, so we got some pretty straightforward shapes here. there. I guess I didn't move my start and stop point here. But there's actually a button that we can hit that will automatically move them for us, so it's kind of pointless to do that if we know about that. And I will do that at the end because there may be ones that I forgot to do somewhere along the way. Let's see, draw this shape here. Close that. Negative fill. Alright, and then we'll travel from here to here. Do the next one. Close the shape. Negative fill. If you get the gist here, feel free to just fast forward a little bit until I get to whatever the next section that meets your fancy is, because I know this is very repetitive and boring. It's not like I'm telling interesting stories or anything. So, you know, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you skip ahead. Alright, so we're going to draw here. Go down to about there. And close that shape. You know, it occurs to me that this satin stitch, I would have preferred to have this under there. That's a good argument for having done this earlier. Yeah, I would have preferred that, but whatever. It'll be all right. Anyway, travel back up and around. Like I said, I'm not really worried that much about the start and stop points because I can actually have the software automatically move the start and stop points for me. As long as the travel stitch is there, then it'll automatically move the start and stop points into the right places for me. Sometimes I forget that it'll do that, and I still, you know, go in and move the start and stop points, but it will do it automatically. As long as the actual stitches are there, that makes sense to the software. As far as like, oh, okay, so like this stitch is before this stitch and that stitch is before that stitch, it'll automatically move the start and stop points for you. Okay, and then close that shape. Yeah, that looks fine. And fill it. Okay, so we got our sewing needles are done. Now, what is next? I think that next is going to be the light purple banner, really. I mean, what else is there? There's the light purple banner, and then there's the Baby Lock logo applique in the middle, and then the birds, and that, you know, then, you know, whatever details. I haven't decided what kind of detail I'm going to, like, I don't like this, and especially because this is, like, detail on the ribbon, and it goes into the Baby Lock logo. I don't know what the hell's going on there. You know, whoever was making this image was, I don't know, just not paying attention, because that looks stupid. So we're gonna get rid of that, and I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to treat these. Maybe just as run stitches. I don't like how bold it is, basically. I think it's too thick. So, anyway, let's go ahead and do the purple. So, we can do this at this stage now, too. So, we've actually got some of the dark purple that needs to be done. I'm going to turn off 3D mode. I just had it on to make it kind of easy to see. But if we turn 3D mode off, we can actually see through our stitches. Makes it easier to do stuff like this when we're overlapping. So I'm going to do this part first, because why not? And this is just needs to be traced like this pretty much. And close that shape. We're going to curve it a bit like that. Okay. And this now is going to be an applique. So we're going to use the applique button and turn off the So Finish. And there we go. There we've got our applique. Now, I suppose we do need to have the top stitch go all the way around here. Remember, this is empty space right here. So let's do, how do I want to do this? These are just a steel stitch, right? So let's just have them match that. We're going to go ahead and draw, wait, no, because we may as well do all the applique segments first. So this, and then this, and then we'll do the top stitches all in so that we don't have unnecessary color changes. Yeah, so that's that applique, and then we're going to do this next one. Kind of curves up, kind of a steep curve, so I might bring that about to there. And then, are we going to do this in two pieces or not? No, let's have the bird overlap it completely. So we're just going to do this whole thing. So I'm going to take this, so this curve to about here, and then there, 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 and then close it. So see how we did there. I know we got all these lines, it gets confusing, but like it's easy to see when it turns purple like this. So there, that looks okay. There. Oh, just click the wrong thing. Go all the way back down to the bottom and select the last thing's going to be the most recent one that you worked on. Pull this up, pull this down, making those curves. There. There, 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 and that is our shape. We go ahead and use the applique and uncheck So Finish and hit apply. Okay, that's the applique section for that. Do we want to do this one now? I say no. So then we're going to do this guy around kind of, this is kind of like an S-shaped curve here a little bit. So we're going to start here and go till it starts changing direction to there, to there, to there, to there, to there. We'll say to about there, and then there, 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 and close the shape. Let's see what we get. So, oh, that to there, this to here. Looks pretty good so far. It's a little angular there, but that's all right. Okay. Alright, make that an applique and turn off So Finish, hit apply. Okay. Now, it would be possible to do this oval at this step, just to have all the stuff that's fabric down. I'm trying to think of a good reason not to do it, because the part that's important not to do first is the satin stitch, because that top stitch needs to go down on top of some of these other elements. There's no good reason not to do the applique now, so I'm going to do it. To do this, I'm going to use the ellipse tool, and I'm going to imagine that there's a box around this oval, and I'm looking for the point where this side and this side meet, and that'll let me get an oval that's pretty close to the right size and shape. And then I can just kind of nudge it until it's perfect. There is no good way to draw your own circle. You will not draw a perfect circle. So just use the automatic tool. It is 1,000 times better than trying to draw it yourself. It is impossible to draw this perfectly. All right, but anyway, so that is now going to be applique, and we turn off the so finish and hit apply. Okay, groovy. Okay, so if you are doing the thing where I was showing you to follow along to break your applique apart, then this would be the time to do that. I'm not going to do it. Well, I did it earlier, so I guess I probably should. It's just time consuming, and we're already pretty far into what this video is going to be. This video is going to be like 3 hours long. Yeah, I guess I'll do it. All right, so we're going to break this applique apart. And let's close all of these so that we're only looking at this stuff. Should be this one. So we've got our first run here. We want to be applique position. And our second one, we want to be applique material. Next, we're going to break up this applique. Break up applique. We should have 2 new pieces. This one is going to be applique position, and this one is going to be applique material. All right, and then this one, we're going to break this apart. And this one is going to be applique position. And this one is going to be applique material. And then last one, we're going to break that up. First one is applique position. Second one is applique material. All right, and then we select all of this stuff. So I'm going to select the first one, hold down Shift, select the last one, and then we're going to color sort that. Okay. Now, I know that is confusing, but when you sew it out, it's going to be a much smoother process. You just got to remember what color fabric goes where, and that's why these designs, when you buy a design like this, it always comes with a PDF of instructions on what goes where. Anyway, so that, now again, you could have just ignored that and not worried about splitting those the way that I just did, and it would work perfectly fine. It just would be extra steps. All right, so what's the next step? I guess the next thing would be the top stitches for our appliques is next. So we need the satin stitches to go around all of these appliques, and then we do the birds, and then we do the detail work. So let's take a look at this without the backdrop. It looks pretty dope. All right. We'll start up here, arbitrarily, really. Not for any particular reason. I'm starting up here. So let's turn off the backdrop. What we're going to do is we're going to trace this. Let's see how it looks doing it as a one steel stitch. I'm just going to go right in the middle of this. There, 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 there. Close my shape. Adjust the curve there and set it to be black Let's see what it looks like. Looks a little narrow. But that's the way that it is in the graphic. I want to leave it. I think it looks good. It's not ideal, but I think that's because the person that drew it drew this part too small. You know what I could do is I could take this entire section here and select it and just make the whole darn thing bigger. I think that looks better. It might even look better if I did it even bigger than that, but I'm not going to screw with it anymore. If you want to, you can. Alright, so that's step one. Now we're not going to be doing any more traveling here, so the machine's just going to have to trim after this, because there's not a, I mean, well, I guess we could travel through here, but I'm not going to. So, sue me. Alright, so let's take a look at this section here. So we've got this is a separate part from this. So this is one. This curve from here to here is one. This can all be one piece. But this needs to be pretty thick. I think I'm going to need to follow the artwork for this. I'm going to need to do this as a satin stitch. This and this are going to be separate pieces. So we're going to go from here to here, here to here, and here to here. So let's start with this. Here's the thing. This is going to have to come in a lot deeper than it does on the graphic. Yeah. Just the way that I drew this. So we're going to go in and start about here, and then come in around a curve like this, and then like this, and then like back to here. And then close the shape. Down here. And then we use the auto satin. Okay, pretty good. Next is this. Now this has to cover both this and this. So we're going to start here, come up and around, I'm deciding whether or not to do this as separate pieces. Let's see what it looks like as one piece. So we're going to come around here to about here where this curve ends, and then this gentle curve to, oh wait, I keep forgetting that I need to follow the stitches. So right about here, and then I just right clicked on accident. If you do that, just hit the select tool and then hit delete and start over again. Alright, here, 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 and then I'm going to do that as a curve to about, say, here, and then bring it up here. Remember, we're doing this as a satin fill, so this has to, there, has to have both sides. There, there, and we'll close the shape there. Let's take a look what we end up with here. Alright, this needs to be pulled out like that. This to about here. About there. There. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we make that a satin fill. looks good. Probably should have done this one first in retrospect. That's all right. All right, now we're gonna do this one next. Take there, all the way down to, say, here, and then there, and then it's going to come up to here, follow along the top of this curve, all the way to about here probably, and then we'll close the shape there. That might be too jagged, we'll see. So there. Remember, it's got to come over this yellow line here. That's too high. And then here, we want to meet the bottom where the black is. Alright, let's see what that looks like. That's pretty wide. That's pretty darn wide. Yeah, I might need to make a little bit of an adjustment here. This doesn't need to be this wide. So let's adjust the shape of it so that this comes up a bit higher. Now, is there anything exposed that shouldn't be exposed? Let's hide the backdrop. I don't think so. I think that'll work. Definitely looks better, that narrower like that. Okay, and then this is the next part down here. This, we could probably get away with that as a steel stitch if we wanted to. Let's just see. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so that's this part. We can't do this part yet. That has to be last. But let's look at the bottom banner here. I'm going to go from here up to here. I think I need to draw this one and make it a satin stitch. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to follow the artwork to about here, and then there's a curve as it goes up this way, say it about there. Then I'm going to go to here. Curve's pretty nice about there. And then I'm coming up here to about, let's see, it's going to come around this way, so to about here maybe. And I'm going to close this shape here. Let's see. might be a little wider than I need it to be. I mean, it needs to be fairly wide in order to cover everything. Let's see, I don't like how that part of it is right here. I don't like this point. If I delete this point and pull this down like that and then use the Bezier handles to kind of tighten that up on both sides. Does that get me a smoother point here? It kind of does. Makes it harder to control. Yeah, I mean, you know, this is kind of where it ends up being a little fiddlier, and you just have to monkey with it until it looks right to you. But yeah, I still don't like this, how fat this is right here. Maybe this should be done in 2 pieces. That's better, a little better. Now we got to make sure that this bird covers this raw edge here, because the bird is the top stitch for this part. All right, and if we need to, we can take these and pull them up in there a little more. All right, so we've also got this part coming down this way. I'm going to do this piece, and then I'm going to do this all as one piece. All right, so let's go ahead and draw this shape in. Okay, I'm going to take this, go up like that, go up like that. I don't know, do I like that? Yeah, let's take a look. Auto satin that puppy. Alright, so the software didn't like that at all. For some reason it generated nonsense here, so let's see what's wrong with our shape. Well, it chose to put a weird inclination in. I think that was the problem. There we go. You gotta watch that auto satin tool. Like, it works perfectly until it doesn't. Alright, so that's fine. I can adjust the shape a little bit, make it a little bit fatter, I think. Yeah, alright, and now this next one's going to be a really complicated line to draw, but we're going to do it anyway. So let's see, we're going to take this, we're going to start here, here, there. This is to about here, as the curve kind of starts changing direction, comes around, maybe about like that. And then we've got kind of a curve that comes out like this, maybe to here, and then it changes direction to here, and then we're going to cover the other side, there, up and around to about there, and then around, kind of a change in direction here, and then here, and then close the shape and see what we can pull out from this. Like that. Like that. This comes out down here. This comes out down here. What is this? This is the bottom. That goes there. That goes up here. Like that. Right? And then like that, which this needs to come out further, and then this in further. Okay, this is too jagged a point here. Maybe we can kind of smooth it out like that, because I do need this to change directions here. there, there. Let's see how that looks. I know it's a lot of me just saying the word there and here, but I mean, I don't really know what to say other than that when I'm generating these complicated shapes. Alright, let's turn off the backdrop. Yeah, I could probably get that better, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to monkey with it too much. I think you get the idea generally of what would need to be done to make that perfect. Now, the next thing is the this oval here. I'm actually going to cheat here, and I'm going to select the last part of that we generated. I'm going to copy it. So if we select it, we can actually hit the duplicate button here, which puts another one of these in. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that, though. Let me hit delete. I actually want to copy and paste it because I need it to be in exactly the same spot. So we're going to select it, right-click, and copy, right-click, and paste. And we get another version of it right there that I can then turn into a steel stitch and make it black. And there we go. So that's going to be the last step that happens there. Okay, because that needed to be on top of some of these other stitches. All right, now it's the birds. And if any of you have been waiting excitedly to see how I deal with the shading on the birds, I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not going to do the shading on the birds because screw that. Yeah, sometimes you just have to look at a thing and say, yeah, I'm not going to replicate that exactly because it would be nearly impossible to blend thread to make this actually look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to treat these birds as if they were all one color. You could do it in 2 colors or 3 colors if you want. And I mean the body of the bird, not the belly. The belly we're going to do red, and the leaf we're going to do green. But the wings and the body are going to be one color. But I am going to probably draw them in separate segments, though. So we're going to do this, and then this, and then this. I'm just going to do them all one color, though. Okay, so let's take a look and start drawing our bird in. So we got this to here, and then let's say there, and there, there, and there, there, and there. You see how I'm going to be pulling those curves out. There and about there, 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 and then close my shape. So that's going to be one wing. Pull out the curves. There, 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 there. Okay, there's one wing. And let's see, I'll pick like a light blue color and fill it with stitches. Should I have done this one first? Probably not. I probably should have done the body first, or maybe this wing and then the body and then this wing. I don't think it matters all that much. Anyway, and there's going to be a run stitch put down to kind of tidy it all up. You can tell that I'm getting impatient here. Sometimes it's best to do these things in pieces and not try to do everything at once, but here we are. I waited to the last minute once again, so I have to finish it right now. I managed to just right-click accidentally, so I'm going to have to start the segment over again. Alright, there to there to there. There and there. There and there. There and there. There, and then this curves around to about there, and then close the shape. Guess we got to do his little beaky too, huh? Alright, select it, shape tool, pull this up here. Okay, pull this belly down. That looks pretty good. This point is kind of gross. I could probably have just not had this point here. And let's fill it. And then the lower wing. Close that shape. Start pulling our curves out. Okay, pretty good. Fill that. Yep, looks pretty good. All right, other bird. Now, could we be lazy and copy and paste this one bird on top of the other bird? I don't think so, but let's try it. Alright, we got two birds now, and then we mirror image the bird, and it doesn't look like the artist was lazy enough to have done it this way. Oh, wait, maybe. Oh my god, I'm a genius. Look at that. Lines up perfectly. So I copied and pasted it, mirror imaged it, and I mean that lines up. Maybe not dead perfectly, but I mean that's close enough for me. Let's move him down a little bit so that he covers that little bit I was talking about there. I mean that's pretty good. Alright. I like it. So, now we got beaks, we got bellies. Oh shoot. Oh shoot, I didn't realize I drew his belly wrong. Alright, new plan. I'm not doing the red belly. Look at that. I totally ignored that this part was supposed to be red. What a dork. We're just going to put leaves on his belly. When you do yours, you can do it however you want. But I am tired of doing this, so there, and close the shape. And we'll make this beak color. Probably this is narrow enough to do this as a satin stitch, really. We could have just done the entire bird with all the detail on it, copy and pasted it, and do it over there. Yeah, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to delete the second bird. And I'm going to do the entirety of one bird so that we can just copy and paste that one bird and have it be all in the right place perfectly. All right, so we'll do these little areas of color as a satin stitch. So we're going to close that shape. We're going to do this, select it, and do that as a satin fill. Same thing for the next color. And the next one of this color, and then close that shape. And we'll make that satin fill. And then we're going to do the same thing for these little diamonds. Close that shape. Make that a satin fill. Close that shape. Satin fill. Close that shape. Make it a satin fill. Okay. Lovely. Let's put this in 3D for a second. Alright, that looks okay. So, as far as the red belly goes, I can't believe I freaking did that. Yeah, I'm not redrawing it. I guess what we could do is, what if I cheat? I'm gonna try something. I don't know whether this is gonna work or not, but let's see if it does. So we're gonna go from here to here to here, come up to here and here, close this shape. So we're gonna draw this red belly, fatten this up with the Bezier handles here. Okay, so that's about the size of it. Make it red, okay, and then make it a fill. Now, if I right-click this, I can technically try to remove overlap stitches. Let's see what happens. See if it works. Holy crap. It worked. Okay, so now, I will tell you that you cannot rely on this tool, okay, because it rarely works. This time it did. But, so what I just did is I drew an area of fill. Let me undo. Just make sure that that undo took here. Let's turn 3D off. Yeah. So there's a tool where if you have a fill stitch laying on top of another fill stitch, you can select that stitch and then right click it and choose remove overlap stitches, and it will attempt to remove the overlap here, and it rarely works, but it looks like it actually worked here in this situation, so that's cool. So that's something you can try. Like if you're trying to remove an overlap somewhere, just don't be mad if it doesn't work, because half the time it doesn't. Okay, so that's cool. So we're gonna have the other parts of the tail that were colored are going to be the same color red. So we're just going to draw those shapes in, close the shape, make that a satin fill, and this one here, close that, make that a satin fill. Okay, and then we've also got red in his wings here. So let's use the same shade of red. Make that a satin fill, and up here a satin fill. I'm going to ignore this one. It's kind of the same color as his wing, and yeah, we don't have any other ones in there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now we need the green. Dare we try to do the remove overlap twice in a row? Let's see what happens. We're going to do the green here. So there to there, kind of curve down to there, to there, to there, to there. Close the shape. Make it green. Shape tool. Oh! I said shape tool. Pull that, get our curves going here. Point's ugly. It's alright. Make that a fill. Right click it, remove overlap. Amazing. That looks dope. Alright, so next step is going to be the detail work around this bird here. So we're going to do that as a run stitch. So all of this little like intricate filigree stuff that you see, that's going to be a run stitch. That also means we're going to have a run stitch border going all the way around the outside of him, which may or may not line up perfectly. A run stitch border, sometimes you just have to sit there and sew it out, see how the stitches end up laying, and then going back and adjusting it. But ideally we want just a little bit of overlap over the stitches for the outside edge of it. So what we want is we're going to do the run stitch here, and we want this to flow as one continuous line, so you can overlap yourself kind of as much as you need to, and just kind of do it. So here's, I'm going to start. I'm going to start right here, arbitrary spot, not for any particular reason. Start here, boom, boom, boom. All right, that's the beak. Now I'm going to just follow around the body here, and I'm crossing over the tips of the stitches. Okay, crossing over the tips of the stitches. There. Now this I usually draw like this because we're just straight up drawing stitches in here. And stitches are made of straight lines. I'm being a little sloppy because I sense the end is near. Alright, and then we're going to go around here. We can draw this with perfect math curves if you want to. I'm not, because I am being lazy. Alright, so I made a bad decision and came around this way. I should have probably followed this and gone up in this part. So it's not really ideal, but we're going to go back through where we already went by clicking on where there are already stitches and come back around the other way like this. Now I'm coming in here to do this part and then coming back out. We're going to go do the inside of this. Then come back out. I'm using the arrow keys as the tapping sound you're hearing. Is me using the arrow keys to navigate through the design. It's easier than trying to click something. And now we're back to here. Okay. So we can go back through here the way we already came. And this time I'm going to come out this way. And there's definitely better paths than I have taken here. Right click. You make this whole thing black. Make it a run. And let's see in 3D what parts I've missed. Whoa. That looks like crap, this big long thing here. Oh, I think it's because there was supposed to be ones going in there and I didn't do those. Let's turn off 3D and look. No, no, that's definitely the way that it's supposed to look. Okay. Alright, well, where's my stopping point? Where did I stop this? Oop. Stop was all the way up here. Yeah, not ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start another segment down here and there'll just have to be a jump. Alright, yeah, we're going to go here and just outline this bad boy. Come down in here. Okay, That's the outline part done. And then we've got a couple of spots where we've just got like to go around these that aren't actually connected to anything. Oh, I forgot I could be doing this with the run tool. Go over it twice for each one, I think, just to give it a little more bold. Okay. Okay. Oh, and the leaf part in here needs to be done too. And then once we're done with this, we'll select this entire bird, copy it, and paste it. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but that's all right. When you do this yourself, you can spend as much time as you want making it look good. Make it look perfect. All right. So, we got that. Now, let's... of course, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, at this scale, those really probably should be satin stitches, not run stitches. It's probably true. That would take a lot more time, though. Probably would look better, though. But, you know, I did it the way that I did it. So let's take our bird, start on the beginning of the bird, and go all the way down to the end. Hold down Shift, and then select it. That'll get the entire bird. We're now going to copy and paste. Then we want a mirror image. You want to really try not to accidentally click off of this. This over here, and then we've got this ball here lets you rotate. And make sure that he covers over the spots that he needs to cover. Looks pretty good. Alright, next we've got these little details in here. I would just do those as a run stitch. If you wanted to, you could put an outline around the needles, just like we did around the bird. And then it's just a matter of putting the letters in. So we would go in and use, let's see, how tall is this? This is 0.59. So any font should really do. Go in here, use the text tool. We'll look at block fonts. Anna looks pretty good. SEW. Okay, now it's kind of like on a curve a little bit. So if we want to put this, we can actually hit this ball under here and nudge it up a little bit to kind of give it that look like it's sitting on the curved line. And then we'll go ahead and just draw another one here for baby lock. We'll do all lowercase, the way it is on there. And make this a little smaller. Oops, didn't mean to move just the Y. Smoosh it in a little bit. And make it like a gold color. There we go. There's our design. That's an applique. Oh wait, we gotta put fearlessly. Duh. Or fearless or whatever. So same thing, we go down here. We're gonna do text. Click down here. I forgot about that, but this should be black like the other one. Just have it say Fearless. We could probably put this on a line on a path frame. That's going to allow us to edit the baseline. Have this on a curve like this. Do it. Text tool. What did I do wrong? Edit baseline. I want to add a point and I want to twist it. Why didn't it take? Okay, there we go. Now right click. There we go. It's a little too big, so let's size it down. And rotate it a little bit. That's pretty good. All right. There's our design. So that is an applique version of that this So Fearless logo that I started doing years ago, and that's it. I think it looks pretty good. Oh, but I forgot. I was going to show you how to make sure that the start and stop points all end up in the right place. So there's a button up here. Optimize entry exit, and what that'll do is if I've got any areas where the start point and stop point are in stupid places, it will go ahead and move them for me. So I'm going to select this whole design, hit Control A or click and drag a box around it, or you can click select all here or all items, however you want to do it. Select everything and then just click on optimize entry exit, and it'll move my start and stop points around until they are all in the right place. So that was why I didn't bother too much when I was drawing the some of the fill stitches and stuff. I didn't bother to do that perfectly because it wasn't important. Oh, you know what else? Another thing I just noticed right here. This is overlapping this because of the order. Remember, I was talking about how I wish I did that a different order. I'm going to fix that. Let's see. Let's select this, use the shape tool, and just pull these out like this. There we go. I could make it better than that, but whatever. Alright, anyway, so that's it. We will just go ahead and save this. So you could save to sew if you want. You can tell it, to apply the different pull compensations and stuff like that if you want to, or you can just save it as a stitch file. Make sure you always save as a WAF file too. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.